let's do some spring garden planning in zone 5B. Okay, that's so cool. Hey folks, this is Casey and I'm one mellow marigold, and in this video we're going to be talking about the 4 things that I'm doing to get ready for my spring garden in zone 5B. Now, I fully realize that doing a lot of planning doesn't exactly seem very mellow of me, does it? But I gotta tell you, I got a lot of things going on here at the farm and I am very easily distracted. So starting out the season with a little bit of a plan, the goals I want to accomplish, really helps me just sort of stay together and stay on track. You might also be thinking, lady, you're nuts. It's snowing outside. What are you doing? What are you talking about with your spring garden nonsense? I gotta tell you, I'm gonna be sowing my peas in like 3 weeks. So spring gardening is right around the corner. After the peas come the radishes. After the radishes come the carrots, and so on and so on. And before you know it, we are like harvesting tomatoes already. Like, it just goes so fast. For those of you who are a bit newer, you might not know that 2 years ago, I lived in a whole different state in a city house with a city plot. And I moved out here and bought this farm a little bit on a whim. A little bit not on a whim. But this farm was a hot mess. It was owned by someone who was quite a hoarder and had some other really serious issues going on, had some very interesting ideas about life and interesting ideas about how to maintain a property. So I really had a lot on my hands. And the first 2 years here, my gardens really haven't been a full garden because I was dealing with the house and just trying to plug holes and make my environment livable, in addition to trying to get a garden going. So I really have just had a lot going on. In fact, this is going to be the first garden season that I'm going to have a spring garden, a summer garden, and a fall garden all in the same year. And I'm just really super excited about it. So yes, I might be a little bit more of a planner than some, but I'm happy I have the opportunity to do it here. So let's get started with the first thing, and that is cleaning supplies. So first of all, thank you to everybody who participated in my survey. I actually really loved hearing from you. The answers were just a little bit surprising, if I'm being honest, but most of you do nothing. You're just out there like raw dogging your garden, and I absolutely love that for you. A few of you, though, are like me, who like to at least try to get a good wash and a spray done before the next year. The biggest benefit of washing and sanitizing your growing supplies is, of course, you are reducing the possibility of transmissions of icky diseases and fungus from last season into the new season. Not everything just like dries up and dies when you just take all of your dirty pots and chuck them on the porch in a pile like I do. See, this is my pile. Where they then just sit all winter nice and dirty until I decide to clean them up for the next spring. So if all your garden stuff was really pretty disease-free, you probably got nothing to worry about. I have to really worry about blight here and a couple of other fungal diseases. So I'm definitely cleaning up my supplies, and here's how I do it. First, I'm going to spend some time knocking the dirt out of all of my old containers, and I try to do that outside so I don't bring a whole lot of that in, but you know, dirt doesn't bother me. Then I'm throwing a bunch in the sink. I kind of do batches at a time, and I'm throwing hot water and dish soap in there, and I'm letting them actually just soak and start letting that dish soap break apart anything that's on my containers. After they're rinsed, I put them off to the side on a towel, and I've got a bottle filled with 50% vinegar, white vinegar, and 50% water. And I give all of my containers a light misting with the spray to help sanitize. Some folks also use hydrogen peroxide. Some folks also use bleach. I just personally don't love the smell of bleach in my house, so it's just something that I kind of rarely buy. But all of those can work for you. Once the vinegar and water solution has dried on the containers, sometimes, you know, the vinegar makes it like a little bit sticky to the touch. So I go ahead and I do give them one more rinse under the faucet and then a final dry on the towels. And that's it. Then they're ready to go for the next year. And at the end of every fall season, I always pretend like I'm going to be a really great gardener. And I'm going to like spray down, wash all my containers at the end of the season and tuck them up on their little shelves in the fall, so they're just going to be ready and fresh and clean when the spring comes around. But I have never been that gardener. And at the same time, my little Etsy store is at its absolute busiest in the fall. So I go right from the garden right into the yarn, and I don't get much of a break until New Year's. Number 2 on my spring planting list, planting onion seeds. So in the past, I have always grown onions from starts. Those are the cute little nubby nubbins of an onion that you get in a big pack and you just pop in the ground. It is set it and forget it. There is absolutely nothing wrong with starting onions from sets. I think it's really easy and quite frankly, pretty convenient. But last summer I had a couple onions in my patch that bolted and went to seed. And I had never saved onion seed before. So I took the opportunity to try something new. I saved a couple of flower heads, kept them in a little dish so they got really nice and dry. And then just a couple of shakes and a little sifting around of the debris. And here we have a whole bunch of onion seeds. Now, the downside is I have no idea what type of onions these are. I think they're probably a red variety because that was the area of the onion patch that they were in. I had red, yellow, and white onions planted. And so I think it was from a red onion set, but I really just have no idea. So in addition to using my own saved seeds, I also got 2 packs from Territorial Seed Company. I got Cortland Yellows and I got a Red Bull. Both are long day onions, which is appropriate for 5B, and both are really great storage varieties. And just in case I screw up the seeds, I did go ahead and order some backup onion sets. Honestly, I could grow 1 million onions and I would be satisfied. I could go through an onion a day, quite frankly. And honestly, I'll put the onions everywhere. Like if I happen to have the seedlings work out great, and I have the sets, I'm just going to plant them everywhere. I could easily in my kitchen use an onion a day. That's 352. Wait a minute. 356? Holy shit. How many days in the year are there? What? 56? It doesn't matter. You get my point. I could use an onion a day. So we'll see how this goes. Now, because I'm new to seed starting, of course, I go to my YouTubes for a little bit of help. And Whole Fed Homestead has an awesome onion series that I followed along. So if you've also never grown onions from seeds, I highly recommend you check out their page. First, I got me some tall containers since I learned that onions like to be started in tall containers and they can be bunched together and they're not going to be up potted at any point. So I learned that we're going to use potting mix. So I got myself a bag of potting mix, made sure I got it nice and moist. I dumped some water in, kind of mixed it around, made sure it was really well saturated. And then I packed my containers full. I didn't pack them like mush them down really tight, but I made sure that they were full pretty high and I tried to even out the surface as much as possible. Next, I planted between 10 and 15 seeds or so per pot and just sort of tried to keep them slightly away from each other. And then I finished up by doing the crumble. I took a little bit of potting mix and I tried to just crumble it lightly and evenly over the top and gave it just a little bit of extra water. And that's it. They go on the seed mat. And then really, we just got to make sure we watch them really close every day so they don't dry out. I try to make sure that there's some moisture in the bottom of the pan. And I kind of lightly come through and just do a little feel to make sure that the topsoil is moist. Now, I don't want to get too excited, but you know how us growers are, right? Once we plant seeds, we cannot stop looking for them to germinate. I think that right there, see it in the middle. Let me zoom in a little. That's a sprout. Those are onions coming up, baby. It's happening. In addition to the onion seeds, I did get a few more seeds planted. I did some winter jug sowing. I saved up a whole ton of these gallon jugs that I get the vinegar in from the Aldi's. Although I do not shop at Aldi's anymore. No, Costco or Wegmans only for this girl. So for the winter jug sowing, if you've never done that before, it's really just quite a hoot. You're just making little baby greenhouses. They're just little baby cold frame greenhouses. I really love cabbage and Brussels sprouts. And so I decided I had to get some of those going. So I went ahead and I grabbed 4 different jugs, cut them in half. We're leaving just a little bit for a hinge, although if it comes apart like it did for one of mine, you're not going to worry about it, okay? You make sure you poke a whole bunch of holes for the soil to drain. That's really important. And a couple extra holes I poked at the top just to make sure airflow was possible. Then you're going to fill the bottom half of the pot with your potting mix, and it can be potting mix and not seed starting mix, because once you seal these babies up, you're not unsealing them until you're going to be ready to plant them out into your garden. Plant your seeds, 1 seed per hole, because we're not doing any thinning in there either. Give it that little crumble of the potting mix on top, seal it up, pop the cap, and they're sitting outside ready to go. When those seeds are ready, outside, they will begin germinating. The clear plastic of the dome is going to let lots of light in. It's going to trap heat as it would in a greenhouse or a cold frame. I've got 5 or 6 more jugs, and a couple of those I'm going to be starting petunias in. Woo, I'm really excited to grow a ton of petunias this year. It's one of my absolutely favorite flowers. Okay, but that's it for seeds for like another week. And then I'll probably get peppers going. Now, before I head outside to do number 3, I want to make sure you stick around to the end, because I'm going to show you how you can get your hands on my garden planning spreadsheet if you want it. If you don't end up wanting it, that's okay. I still love you anyway. For step 3, we are back outside, but I'm a little more appropriately dressed. Let me show you the apple orchard. Welcome to my little apple orchard. Yes, all of these are apple trees. I've got about 7 or 8 over here, and I also have some cherry trees over on the other side. Now, these apple trees had been long neglected by the previous owner. So when I got here, they were producing fruit, but it was just super little bitty tiny ones, and they are covered in rust. So I knew I had to get to work doing some rehab. Last year was the first year that they got a really good healthy prune and a treatment with copper fungicide. I've got a fun video about that if you want to see how I did it. And when you're pruning fruit trees, you're going to be doing it in the winter or very, very early spring before any of these start putting buds and shoots out. Now, it might not look like it, but warm weather is coming next week. It's going to be jacked right back up to like high 40s. So it's going to be perfect weather for pruning. Since we're going to be in the second year, I'm not going to be overly aggressive with the prune this year, but I'm ultimately going to do the same as I did last year. I'm going to be coming through. I'm going to be taking off any vertical growing shoots and new suckers. We've got a ton of old grapevine that are still up entwined in some of these trees. So a lot of that is going to come down. I'm going to look for any crossed or rubbing branches, as those can spur disease. And I'm going to be trying to reduce even more height this year to bring the canopies lower to the ground. Once I've done the trimming, they're going to get a spray with a copper fungicide. And we're going to do the exact same thing to those 2 cute little cherry trees right back over there. I can tell you the rest back inside where it's warm. So really, to get ready to do the actual pruning here this spring, I did go ahead and get my little chainsaw all cleaned up. I sanitized the blades, got more lube in the reservoir. It's going to be ready to go. Last but not least is number 4, my garden planning spreadsheet. I am a spreadsheet girly. I know there's a million apps and a bunch of different software you can use to do your garden planning. I like a spreadsheet. When I'm out doing gardening, I often have my phone with me. You know, I'm filming something, or maybe I'm doing like a plant identification, but I'm already on my phone quite enough during the day as it is. I don't necessarily gravitate towards the idea of having all my garden planning on one single app. I could be wrong. Somebody could tell me that there's an app that I'm just going to fall in love with. But until that happens, I'm a spreadsheet girl. Now, is it the most amazing spreadsheet of all time? No, probably not. I'm just one person, and there's a million ways you can plan things in garden. What I like about how this is set up is it gives me a visual of what's coming week to week throughout the summer. As I said before, I'm a really easily distracted gal, okay? Shiny, and I go running off in a whole new direction before we know it. And so I may not necessarily maintain the spreadsheet as much as I intend to in the beginning, but I definitely look at it every couple of weeks just so I remember, oh, yes, that's right. It's time to get the tomato seeds started. Oh, yes, that's right. We should start thinking about whether we're going to up pot those seedlings, right? That kind of stuff. I also like having an idea of when it's going to be harvest time for some of my vegetables. Like, I want to have it in my vision when all of my peas are likely going to be coming to harvest. Even though I have a rough idea, I like to visually see it because I'm going to need to do something with all those peas. Now, granted, we're probably eating most of it fresh. Honestly, the doggies and I just love fresh spring peas, and so we end up eating way more out in the garden than we ever end up preserving and make it to the inside of the house. But that's okay with us. Radishes, on the other hand, I will plant a whole bunch of radishes at one time. And while we're going to eat a ton fresh, I love to can up and pickle, which means I need to set aside time on my calendar to make sure I can get that pickling done. So anyway, I got a couple of different tabs, but this is the main planning tab. I have all of my vegetables listed. I have all of my flowers listed. I have all of my herbs listed. When I am planting a new packet of seeds, I will come out here, enter them in their various category, and I will enter in the days to germination and the days to maturity. And then I keep track of whether or not I'm going to sow them inside and get them started early, or whether I'm going to be direct sowing outside. Now, the visual part for me comes in the calendar. I've got the spreadsheet frozen so that I can sort of cruise along the calendar. And so as the summer goes on, I just kind of keep moving the button over so that I can visually see in one column what's coming up due for one particular week over another. So how I use the spreadsheet, once I've entered the basic details, I go up front and I copy and paste whether I'm going to direct sow or start indoors. Then I copy and paste 2 weeks for germination, or 3 in the case of peppers and other things. And then when I copy and paste the yellow growing season, I actually copy the yellow part all the way out. And I've got this cute little ticker that tells me how far out that growing period is going to be. When my cute little ticker turns orange, it means I stop, and then I copy and paste my cells for harvesting. And then all of a sudden, I have a color-coded plan for how long it takes everything to grow and when harvest time is going to be coming up. I don't know if that kind of thing is helpful for you, but it sure is helpful for me. A couple other things that I like to track are my harvest yields. So I weigh everything that I grow for the most part. Sometimes I estimate a little bit, but I weigh everything I grow because I do like to see numbers. I like to understand what I'm actually getting from my food for the amount of money that I spend in. So I track what I grow. And at the end of the year, I love to look and say, holy cow, like last year I grew 100 pounds of food. That's a child. Like, I really enjoy knowing that. And it also helps me do planning for the following year. If I knew X amount of plants gave me a bumper crop of Parisian pickles, maybe I don't need to grow them every year. Maybe I alternate, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Or if I found out that the 60 pounds of tomatoes that I grew was only about half of what I need, I know that I either need to work on output so that I'm getting more out of the plants, which I need to. And it also tells me if I need to start more plants in the very beginning. I've got a tab for expenses, so you can indicate how much you're paying for your supplies, whether it's your seeds, whether it's raised boxes, whether it's soil, mulch, all that good kind of stuff. In case you're like me and you're nerdy and you want to know cost per pound of food. I know not everybody does that. I know, but I swear there is a nerd out there just like me who's going to be like, yes, this is the spreadsheet for me. Now, there's one section that I really have not filled out or used as much as I thought I would, and that is seed inventory and where I buy my seeds. So ideally, I would also be filling out where I've gotten my seed varieties from, how much I still have and how much I need, and have that work over into its own little pivot table. So each winter, I just have a running inventory of what seeds I need to buy. Plus, throughout the growing season or after harvest, I'll come back in and I'll add notes like actually grew on this date, not this date. Germination took this many weeks instead of this many weeks. Or, hey, I put this on the south side of the lot. They did not do well. Next year, we're going to put them on the north side of the lot. And all of those little notes just continue to help and build my knowledge of my property and how things worked out and what things I might want to do differently for next time. So I know a bunch of you said that you're not planners, and I love that for you. That's totally okay. You absolutely don't have to be. For those of you who are kind of planners or maybe want to be a little more planful, I'm going to make my spreadsheet available. The way that I have learned I need to do that is by creating a membership. So if you are somebody who is interested in having access to my garden spreadsheet, I'm going to do that for you. You just need to sign up to be a member. Now, I realize there is a cost. The absolute lowest cost that YouTube says I can charge for a membership is 99 cents a month. So that's what I have it set at. And honestly, I'm not that big of a creator, and there may only be like 5 of you who want the spreadsheet anyway. So all of this may be for naught. But in the future, I think there's also going to be a lot of fun ways that I can use the membership program to give folks extra perks and extra attention, extra lessons, extra whatever when they want it. So maybe a little more of that to come. Ultimately, it's another way for you to be able to support my efforts and support this channel and keep doing the work that I'm doing. And I really appreciate that. I really do, more than you know. So the membership is open right now. You can sign up for it right now. If you want access to the spreadsheet, just sign up to be a member. Click the button. Boop, you're all good. I'm going to do a members only post, and I'm going to share the link to that spreadsheet. Now, if at that time you see that members only post, you go to the spreadsheet and you do a little save as and you download it to your own computer, and then you turn off your membership and you never come back. That is totally okay. That's absolutely 1,000% fine with me. Don't give it another thought, okay? But if you do stick around for a while, you'll get the benefit of me updating that spreadsheet based on feedback that I have received from you or new things that are working cool for me. So there you go. You got options. I am so excited to kick off the 2025 garden season, partially because I think gardening is the only thing keeping my sanity intact as an American in this weird ass world that we're living in. But also because I'm going to have been here 2 years. 2 whole years I will have lived at the farm at the end of March. And I can't believe how much has changed in those 2 years and all the work, honestly, that I still have to do. But this is going to be my really first big full garden season here at the farm, and I just can't wait to see what happens. I hope you guys all stick around for the ride because I really do have a lot of fun hanging out with you. Thank you for all of your support. Tell me in the comments if you're going to do any planting of your own, if you're starting seeds yet. For my folks in the warmer zones, you probably started seeds a while ago already. That's exciting for you. I can't wait to grow together. Thanks so much for your support. I love y'all. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'm going to talk to you real soon. Bye.